Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to my second, video log for Hillbilly Harbinger. I did get first of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for everybody who joined me last week. And I also would like to say that I did receive a lot of topics. Because I didn't really have a whole lot of time to prepare for some of those, I don't want people thinking I'm ignoring them. I do have all the topics listed down, and I'll make sure that I'll address some of those topics coming up. And there were some fantastic topics as well too. So thank you very much for doing that. So one of the things I would like to talk about tonight, anyways, is basically I want to talk around the term trophy hunting, and just as kind of a front end piece on this is I'm not going to get into the debate on the term trophy hunting or about trophy hunting. What I'd like to do is give my perspective and my experience through a life of being a hunter and a biologist, and because anybody who's watched our TV show will know that I've never been a big fan of the term trophy hunting. It's always really kind of bothered me because, and it's not that I'm saying it's bothered me from the perspective of other people using it or other people claiming they're a trophy hunter. It's just bothered me because of my views and beliefs growing up and what hunting meant to me. And that's really what I'd like to talk about. If there's any comments that you would like to make, please enter them right away. Don't wait to the end. If there's any, if you disagree with me, please bring it up. I mean, the whole point of this is discussion. And I want to make sure that, we can have a great discussion going back and forward on this type of thing. And if there's any question or perspective you'd like of me on this topic, again, please comment in there. And I see a lot of people are logging on now, so that's awesome. Now, the other thing, if you didn't notice, is, all of us have busy lives, and sometimes you can't be here at 6 o'clock every night on Thursday nights. I do turn these into a YouTube video. I cross-post them again to Facebook as well. So if you can't make a Hillbilly Harbinger segment, then don't feel too bad about that, because you'll be able to watch it. And I do look at the comments for the older ones. So if you do have a comment on that discussion or whatever, I'll get a notification of it, and I will address it with you directly on a private message or even in the text just below in the comment. Good evening, John. Thank you very much for joining me. And hello, Karina. So again, Hillbilly Harbinger is not just a Facebook platform. It's also on YouTube, so please look up Hillbilly Harbinger on YouTube. We have all of our information that goes onto there, plus many other topics and video logs and blogs and other videos that have been done. The other thing as well, too, is we do have an Instagram. However, in the beautiful world of Facebook, who now owns Instagram, there's been some contest on my site or something like that. So I'm going through all the hoops and jumps to get the Instagram page back up and running. And then for anybody that does Pinterest, we also have a Pinterest page as well. So first of all, before we get into the topic of trophy hunting, because when a lot of people hear this, and they say they're a trophy hunter, the general public looks at it like you basically go out, you hunt, you shoot the animal, you cut the head off, you leave the rest in the bush, and woohoo, I'm a trophy hunter. And that is a perception that's out there. And even within the hunting community, I mean, I've been involved in the hunting community heavily since we started the TV show 11 years ago. There's even an argument within the hunting community on, what a trophy hunter is. So what I would like to do is, first of all, from my perspective, and the reason I don't like the term trophy hunting, is I'm going to go back to the beginning of why did I start to hunt. And I mean, there's a million reasons why. I mean, some of the obvious is, well, my grandpa, my dad, my family were hunters. We grew up on game. But really, for me, there's three fundamental reasons that I hunt. The first one is obviously food. A lot of people, have traditional foods that they grew up with. Some families are pierogi and halapshi. Other families are schnitzel and and red cabbage. For me, it was game. I grew up on a game diet. My father and grandfather and my aunt were a hardcore hunting family, and pretty much all we did was fish and hunt. So for me, domestic meat was kind of a bonus to get it. Like we ate deer, we ate elk, we ate cougar, and we ate kokanee out of Okanagan Lake, and fish and salmon. That's what I grew up on. So if you were to ask me what my traditional food is, and it's still the food I serve in my house today, it's game meat. So why did I start hunting? Well, food was one of them. The second one is heritage. You've heard me talk about it. My grandfather, my father, I grew up in a very strong hunting family. I always make the joke, but it's not really a joke. I was born August 22nd. Hunting season opens September 10th. I was barely 2 weeks old when I went on my first hunting trip. So it was literally, not just bred into me, but it was, I was raised around hunting and fishing. So from my perspective, hunting isn't just a thing you go out and do on the weekends, everything. I mean, it was something that was built into the fabric of my life. And I really honestly feel if you strip that out, I would be pretty much a hollow individual, because it's been such a big part of my life. So there's definitely a heritage component there. And then the last one for me is memories. And I know this one's going to catch a lot of people off guard, because they're going to be thinking of, camaraderie and all that other stuff. But hunting is also about memories. The fondest memories I have growing up, and even as an adult, is those experiences with my grandfather, with my father, with my aunt, with my family, with some very good friends going through college. Then I met really good friends after college. And even to this day, like Kent Mickey, who is like a brother to me, and he literally is my best friend. Him and I met, as a result of hunting. And for the last 20 plus years, we have basically built a life around hunting together. So for me, it's also about memories. And as a matter of fact, when you add all three of those things together, it's one of the reasons I became a biologist, because it was the closest way that I could understand, the environment that's out there, and the way that I lived off of the wild, and I still do live off of the wild in hunting and stuff like that. So why is this important? Well, I think it's important because for every person that hears the term trophy hunting, I think this is the reason it means something different. And some people are offended and some are not offended. I'm not really offended by the term trophy hunting. I just don't use it. And the reason I don't use it is because of who I am. So those fundamental reasons of why I hunted. I hunt for food, I hunt for heritage, I hunt for memories. It's something that's very almost spiritual to me. And I don't look at the animals, and I never will look at animals as trophies. And the reason I'll never look at it from the perspective of trophies is because it's not for me. Even when I'm successful, whether it's an animal for the purpose of food, or it happens to be an incredibly mature animal and at the top of its game, both of those things still mean the same thing to me. I never look at it and go, "Ooh, that's a trophy." I'll look at it as a mature animal and an immature animal, but they both brought me the same experience. They both feed into my heritage, and they both feed into my food. Not once do I ever look at it. And I think where the term came from is from the aspect of the mount itself. So you can see them behind me up here, right about there. You can see a European mount, and people will look at that and go, "Well, you're kind of being, hypocritical, Dean. It's not a trophy, but what that's on your wall." Well, I'll tell you what that is on my wall. It's not a trophy. I can tell you that right now. I've never sat and looked at a full shoulder mount or a life-size mount or a head mount as a trophy. That's a memory. That is literally a memory for me. And I make a joke. I'm in my early 50s, and coconut's not as wired as it used to be, and I forget stuff. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes if you were to ask me what I had for breakfast last week, I could not tell you. But guess what? That memory right here, I can tell you in detail absolutely everything that happened in getting that buck, which we nicknamed him Goofy. I got it with Kent, and I can tell you in detail everything about that buck. I can tell you the weather of the day. I can tell you the funny moments that we had. As a matter of fact, not even that day, that hunt. And that's that's one of the components that does on the wall for me, is it allows me to have that memory. And every single animal and piece of an animal that I've got here is capturing a memory. And how I look at it, and I always draw this parallel, is you go to Disneyland with your family. You know, you go down there, you take your pictures, and, you know, so you can capture that trip and the memory so you can go through them again. You know, you go buy your Mickey Mouse ears, you go buy your, you know, Donald Duck globe, and you come home. And you put those memorabilia on your fridge, you know, in your trinket areas. You put your photos into a photo album or a digital photo album. And whenever you want to remember it, you know, you walk by, you look, and you go, oh, yeah, I remember that trip. You know, that was an awesome trip. Or here's all the pictures now. Well, it's no different for me when I go hunting. The reason I take the pictures is because I want to remember the experience. And also, too, for me, you know, there's only one time that animal looks the way that it did in the wild before I harvested it, which is right after I did harvest it. And I immediately, that's why I take a high priority to make sure that I take the best possible picture I can, because, you know, that's the moment that I will remember, is when I harvested that animal. And then again, like I said, I will keep something off of that animal. Sometimes it's a shoulder mount, sometimes it's the antlers, sometimes it's the whistlers in an elk, or sometimes, you know, it's just the hide and I have it hanging on the wall. But that hide and those pictures do the exact same thing for me as it does when I go to Disneyland. Now, I understand I'm kind of comparing apples and oranges, but the reality is what I'm talking to is the experience, right? And for me, that's why I don't use the term trophy hunting. I do not like that term, and I never will support it. And it's kind of funny being, you know, in the hunting TV show industry, a lot of people go, well, you know, you think, especially with you harvesting big animals, you would be a trophy hunter. But the reality is I've never have, and I never will consider myself a trophy hunter. Do I target mature animals? I definitely do. But I do it for different reasons. It's got nothing to do with a trophy, because as you can see, so I have a hard time, it's in reverse, but as you can see, you know, that is definitely not what you would classify as a mature or a trophy class whitetail. But the reason it's there is because of the story. It's because of the memory. It's because of everything around it. And that for me is one of the terms. So, and again, you know, it's not hard for the public who doesn't understand this component of it. You know, that doesn't understand why do we hunt. You know, doesn't understand the importance of food, the importance of heritage, the importance of memory, you know, the spiritual component, like all those other components. What they just see is a head on the wall, and they go, ooh, that guy's a trophy hunter. And the reality is, you know, maybe some are. You know, I'm not saying there's not trophy hunters out there. There may be some guys out there and some gals out there that all they care about is that. They'll never get my support. You know, as long as they harvest the animals legally, I'll always congratulate them. But I don't believe that any hunter, you know, promotes the fact of hunting something strictly for just the head and nothing else. And again, please, people, if you want to comment. If there's a question you want to ask, you can ask it. Other than that, I'll just keep talking until a question comes up. Now, the other thing is, and the reason I brought up the apples and oranges issue when it comes to like me comparing the Disneyland trip to a hunting trip, is a lot of the anti-hunters or people who are on the fence about hunting will go, well, you can't really compare a vacation to where you're killing an animal. Well, you see, again, this is, to me, 99.9% of the time that people that say that do not understand what hunting is. And from two perspectives. From one, as a perspective of us being hunter-gatherers, and from a historical component, you know, coming through time. And then also from the other perspective, understanding that hunting is a tool for wildlife management that helps us to achieve conservation goals. And now I'm speaking like a biologist or a wildlife manager, but there's a reason for that. It's because for the 20 plus years that I was a registered professional biologist in both British Columbia and Alberta, hunting is an incredibly valuable tool for wildlife managers. As a matter of fact, for controlling populations, it's really one of the only tools where we can help get wildlife populations meeting the carrying capacity of the land, or for increasing populations, or for, you know, helping do population controls because, you know, male to female ratios are out, or to lower populations so we're putting more harvest on females than males. Like the really only true way of doing that is through hunting. And as a biologist, we never ever enter into the ethical argument of do we agree with hunting or not, because for us, we're not really caring about that. For us, we're looking at it going, that chunk of land can support X amount of deer, and right now there's not many. So we're going to shut it down, or we're going to really restrict the harvest to help the population get up. Or we're going to look at it like that land is able to support way less animals because it's an impact on the land, which is impacting other species. So now we're going to use hunting to help us reduce the amount of animals so that it's closer to the carrying capacity of the land. And so the reason I'm bringing this up is because the fundamental argument of basically saying that comparing the Disneyland trip to hunting is two different things. It's really not, because the reason a lot of people disagree with hunting is because their families have been so out of touch with harvesting off the land for so many generations that they forget to understand that as short as 100 years ago, we all relied on hunting as a way of life. It was a way of bringing in food. And just because now we have different systems to put food into grocery stores, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden the portion of the population that has chosen to continue on with that heritage, to continue on living with the land and harvesting off the land, all of a sudden is wrong because we have Safeways or we have value, or what, I don't know, Canadian superstores or whatever, right? So the point I'm kind of bringing up on this whole thing is that, if you strip out the emotional argument, because that's all it is, it's an emotional argument, to basically state that, hunting is barbaric. It's not. It's a part of who we are fundamentally as humans. And it's also a part of us in our role of playing conservation and management on this planet to make sure that, we're doing a good job living with our four-legged and two-legged and feathered friends. So now the other aspect that I wanted to bring up as well too is let's go to the word trophy hunting. And why do I think that it gets the hair up on people's necks? And I'm not just talking about the community portion of the population that is for hunting, kind of on the fence or against hunting. But one of the things is about this is I think people get hung up, especially the anti-hunters and the ones on the fence, on the word trophy. And I'll be honest with you, as a biologist and also as a hunter, the reason I find the term trophy incorrect is if you go to what everybody else will do is, what does trophy mean? What is the actual definition of trophy? We can argue it as many ways as we want on what we think the word is, but the reality is for the public that doesn't understand hunting or doesn't understand our lifestyle, they're going to do exactly what I'm about to do, which is let's go to the dictionary. And what the dictionary says is a trophy is a cup or decorative object awarded as a prize for a victory or success. Or it's also the weapons and spoils of a defeated army set up as a memorial of victory. So if you look at it, when people hear trophy, it's like, Team Canada wins and defeats the Russians and they get a trophy to show off. Or they get a trophy to hang around their neck. It's like a conquer. And I think that's where the problem is that when you put that together now, trophy hunting, again, as in the hunting community, we can argue about this as much as we want. But the reality of it is that it's not like, I guess for me, how do you argue it? It's not like we can say trophy means something different, but that's kind of like convincing somebody that, well, it looks like chocolate, but the reality is if you break it down, it's really milk. No, it's not. It's chocolate. And so I think for us as a community, as a hunting community, and it's one of the reasons, A, I don't use it personally because I don't believe in the word, and B, I will never promote it outward that there is trophy hunting because, well, there is trophy hunting. I mean, there is some people that do it strictly for trophy and for things on the wall. But to me, it's a very small portion of the population because I have a lot of friends who have a lot of stuff on the wall, and none of them will say that I strictly went out to hunt for that animal on the wall. What they'll say is exactly what I said. It's a memory on the wall. It's a it's a mature animal that I felt I wanted to honor by having there so I can remember it, and that's what they'll say. None of them will go, oh yeah, I killed that buck because, I just wanted the head. Very few say that. Some will say it. I'm not arguing that. But at the same time, what I'm saying is there's a lot of us are not like that. So again, if I go back to that fundamental definition of what trophy is, and I go to somebody who knows nothing about hunting, and they go, well, you're a trophy hunter. The reality is their interpretation of that is exactly what I just said, is they're looking at me as a guy that goes into the bush to conquer an animal so that I can hang a medallion around my neck and go, woohoo, look at me. We can argue that, folks, as much as we want in this industry, and really the only thing we're doing is convincing ourselves. I'm sorry to say that, but we're literally doing it to convince ourselves, because the other percentage of the population that is on the fence about hunting or against hunting, they're going to just immediately turn to this definition and go, I don't care how you cut it, you're chasing a trophy. So now you're probably asking me, so Dean, what do you refer to yourself as? Well, I refer to myself as a hunter. I'm a selective hunter, only because I like to challenge myself. I like to harvest mature animals. I like to do things that I know are good for conservation and management of the species, even if the regulations are saying something different, and that's why I hunt. I mean, I'm a selective hunter, and I'm not a trophy hunter because, like, for instance, Robert brought this up. He says, all of what you're saying is correct, but it's also why, in my opinion, that mount behind you is a trophy because of all the meaning behind it for you. It may not be a huge animal, but it has great, meaningful trophy. So I do agree with you in one thing, Robert, is that, yes, the animal behind me is there, but it's not a trophy. For me, it's a memory. It's not, I'm not hanging it there because I conquered something. I'm hanging it there because it is my way. And I'm not sure if you're here from the beginning, but, it's my way of honoring why I got into hunting in the first place, which is, the food, the heritage, the memories. I don't look at that as a trophy. I mean, I have lots of trophies. I've got trophies from when I used to run in sports. I've got trophies when I used to play hockey. Was that something I did? Yeah, because I conquered or won games or got most valuable player. That's a fundamental difference. Now, do I look at that trophy still as a memory? Of course I do. I'm not, absurd. The trophy does help me. But could I tell you in detail about how I got that trophy? Well, not really, because I played 42 games in that season or whatever, right? But the point I was getting is that, for me, that behind me is something that it invokes a lot of emotion and a lot of feeling and a lot of memories on that exact moment in my life that I harvested that animal and everything that played up to that point. I wouldn't say it's a meaningful trophy for me. I would never, as a matter of fact, if you came and talked to my wife who lives here with me 24/7 and looks at all these animals on the wall, she'll tell you that, these are Dean's memories. These are his meaningful memories that he's gotten throughout his hunting career. She knows that I would never say the term trophy because to me, again, it's not. If you look at it, a decorative object that's awarded to me or it's a prize for a victory, I don't really look at hunting that way at all. And I never will look at hunting that way. And again, I think it's also one of the, as we move on through time, we understand that if you go back to my grandpa's time, so 75 years ago, the majority of the people in Canada hunted or were connected to hunters. Now you move forward, 2 to 3 generations, we have a lot of people now that are removed from that and don't even have people in their family that have hunted for maybe 1 or 2 generations or who were born in concrete cities and have really no idea, what hunting is. And so we need to understand that there's a portion of that population that has not preserved that understanding or that connection with the land and have kind of grown up in an urban environment, are definitely more affected by what they see on TV and what they read about and social media, because in all honesty, that is their connection to the land base, is through something that's a digital source. So it doesn't necessarily make them right or wrong. It just makes them not informed or informed by pieces of literature or pieces of media that usually are biased or have a biased source, either for or against hunting, or groups that are for or against hunting. So if the term trophy hunting maybe wasn't that big of an issue in my grandfather's day, and maybe a little bit more of an issue in my father's day, and definitely now I would say in the non-hunting community, trophy hunting has actually become a negative strike against hunting for people that don't understand it. I guess my biggest question is what's more important? Is it more important for us to hang on to a word because we feel we're entitled to it, or we feel that we can justify it? Or is it more important to maybe look at it and go, you know what, we're dealing with people who don't understand and have been removed from the outdoor aspect. And this word is a trigger word for them. And I hate to say it, it is one of the biggest words used against us by the anti-hunting industry to make us look bad to that center portion of the population that is neither yay or nay for hunting. They use that term trophy hunting because it serves them exactly what they want to do, which is to paint us to look like a bunch of barbaric people out there running around killing animals strictly for their heads or their headgear. And the reason that it's still successful in doing it is because, again, the only portion of the population that argues on that term is in the hunting community. That's the only place where we argue on it. Some are arguing to justify that term, or some are arguing because they think that it needs to be changed. And I'm more on the side that says it needs to be changed, because I really don't. And I'll say this, people, I have met a ton of hunters from all over the world, and I have had a very blessed hunting career due to Federal's trigger effect. And I can honestly say 99.9% of hunters I have met from all over the world, I do not think are trophy hunters. Not after sitting around for a while, talking to them around a campfire and listening what hunting means to them, or what it did for them growing up, or what it did to bond their family, or the satisfaction they get of providing, food for their own table, or being connected to the hunting because it connects to that big network of hunters, and they also love to contribute to conservation and management. And I honestly think that portion of the population, if I honestly said to them, are you hunting strictly to put heads in the wall? 99.9% of the people I've met would be like, hell no. That's kind of the bonus at the end of it, or that's what I do so I can remember the trip or remember the animal or remember the moment. But none of them sit there and go, hell yeah, I'm just out here to get a trophy. So if that's the case, and we know that is one of those catchwords that basically anti-hunting movement is using against us, what is more important? Is it more important for us to just give up the argument and not give them the ammunition, and to sit down and talk to them like this and explain conservation and management, explain, what hunting really means to us, what those animals mean to us, why we do what we do? Or is it more important for us all to sit here amongst hunter between hunter and, argue the fact why we have the right to say trophy hunting because this is what it means to us? I guess for me, I've just never understood that. Like, I've heard some people say, oh, yeah, but if we give up ground, we're giving up to them. No, we're not. We're not saying we're not going to hunt anymore. What we're saying is maybe the term trophy hunting has ran its course. And maybe now it's more important for us to understand that there's large segments of this population that have been removed from the land and do not understand our lifestyle anymore, do not understand why we do what we do. And honestly, in those urban centers, because anti-hunters are way more successful in penetrating those centers than what we are as hunting groups, they use terms like trophy hunting against us. It's no different, folks, than when they attacked trapping back in the 80s. They would use footage of trapping way back when, showing full closed jaw, leg sets, showing the old bear traps with the claws on them, showing, animals chewing their legs off. I mean, it was all footage shot in the 60s and 70s because that's what trapping was like then. We didn't have the technology of nowadays using instant kill traps like conibears or using offset or padded jaw traps, so that you're not putting the animal through so much distress, right? But what do they still use to attack hunting? They don't want to show that. They want to show the animals from the 1960s and 70s. And I honestly believe there's a parallel there with trophy hunting. They don't talk about hunters being conservation and managers. They don't talk about the money that we do and the science that we create and everything like that. They just throw the term trophy hunter, show someone with a cougar, show someone with a bear, and say, see, they're killing it strictly for the hide or to put the head on the wall. So part of the reason I wanted to bring up this trophy hunting, real or myth, is I think trophy hunting is only as real as we allow it to be. But personally, based on my experience meeting thousands and thousands of hunters all over the world, I honestly think trophy hunting is an old myth. I have never met somebody, and I have met some, highly accomplished hunters. I have never met somebody that says that their sole purpose for hunting is to strictly get a head and put it on the wall. They all have this passion. They all have this incredible history with hunting. And I think honestly that, yes, there's going to be that percentage that maybe are that way, but I think in all honesty, all of us hunt for the same reasons. It's what we grew up with. It's, how we hang out with our friends. It's how we put, food on our table that we grew up with and we like. It's how we honor the memories of maybe the mentors who brought us up. And for me, it's how I raise my kids and I start creating memories for them, and the great thing is when I pass away, they'll have all my memories now to remember me. So again, I wanted to have this talk. I'm not trying to convince anybody out there that you should stop using the term or you should. What I'm saying is think. Let's just think about it, people. And let's really put some thought into it of what's more important to us. Is it more important to us to, create something out of nothing and give ammunition to anti-hunters in using potentially outdated lingo, or, because we feel that we have the right to use that term? Or is it maybe time for us to, change, as most things have changed throughout time, to reflect ourselves as a hunting community in a much more positive light of why we really do these things. And I honestly don't believe that we do these things for trophies. I really don't. I don't think anybody looks at it like they have conquered that animal and I don't care about anything else. This is the reward I get. I get a trophy. I look at it and go, I've got some beautiful mature animals on my wall, hunted 64 days for this one animal. And, I've got some amazing memories and, it was great feed for my family for 6 months. And, I can sit down now and look at the whitetail above me and I can tell you every detail of what happened because that memory is so well preserved within that mount. And I think that's a fundamental difference between a trophy and a memory. And I think also too, if people understood why we hunt and understood what those memories on the wall mean, I think that's a lot easier story for people to swallow and understand than to continue using a term that is divisive such as trophy. Because again, for people who don't understand us and don't understand our lifestyle, they're going to interpret trophy as trophy. And I think it really feeds into it. So anyways, I've been on for about 35 minutes. Is there any other comments or questions out there that anybody has? Again, I'm trying to keep these Hillbilly Harbingers under an hour, preferably around 30 minutes. I don't think anybody wants to sit and listen to anyone for an hour on a topic unless it's really engaging with people. The main reason, though, I wanted to tackle this one, and it's not going to be the last time I talk about this. I think, in the future, we'll hit it again from a few different angles. But that's really what, to me, Hillbilly Harbinger is all about. It's about sharing experiences, sharing our education, and just, breaching some topics that are kind of taboo. And I know trophy hunting is taboo, both from the non-hunting community, but it's also a big argument within the hunting community. And, sometimes I find that we concentrate fighting some stuff that maybe isn't as important as the big objective, which is to educate people on what hunting really is. And to me, hunting, and I'm going to end it with this, unless there's more questions come up or anything like that, but hunting to me from two different perspectives. Hunting to me personally is about food, heritage, and memory. And hunting to me as a biologist is about my way of contributing to help wildlife managers achieve conservation and management objectives. And as a result of both of those things, that's why I'm proud to be a hunter. And I'm proud to share, this hunting community with some amazing people. And the one thing I always say about hunters is we only have to spend about 10 minutes around the fire with each other, and we haven't known each other. And after 5 minutes around that fire, it's like we're going to be friends for life. And I think that's got nothing to do with trophy. That's got to do with memories and having similar upbringings. So with that, everyone, what we got here? Sorry, I'll deal with this. I agree in education of people who don't understand hunting. Antis use trophy hunter now, but also use just hunter as negative. For them, they often use hunter equal to poaching. Well, Robert, you're definitely correct on that. And it's one of the things that I think it's actually more media that uses the poaching term. Is like they'll say, a hunter was caught poaching. And it's like, no, a poacher's a poacher. And I do agree with you on that. I think there's always going to be a negative context to the word hunter until we educate the public. But I think the reason trophy hunter is such a good term is because, again, it just kind of adds fuel to the fire. It really helps for people who don't understand hunting to turn to the anti-hunting side. Yes, I agree hunter is with a negative context, but who's responsible for that? We are. We as a hunting community are responsible to explain to people what a hunter is, what a true hunter is, and that goes back again to the personal argument of true hunter is one that hunts for food, heritage, and memories. And also we contribute to conservation and management in many different ways, and we are a management tool. If that term a hunter gets into the urban centers, I think you would see a lot of a shift in people. But unfortunately, it's only the anti-hunter message that's successfully getting there. And I always said, it's so funny, even, me being on Sportsman's Channel, we're always trying to convince people of conservation and management, but it's within the hunting community. That's not where we need to be hitting. We need to be hitting the people that don't know what that means, which is the people in the urban centers that don't hunt and don't go outdoors. But we don't do that. And so, like I said, that's up to us. Another person here, John, said it's a reconnection to the land and our ancestors. Yeah, John, I agree. And that's what I said from the very beginning of this, is that, one of the components of hunting is to look back and understand that it wasn't very long ago. We're talking just over a century that, we all understood hunting for the purpose of, survival and gathering food and being a part of the land, but it was also understood that it was a part of a conservation measure and management measure. So I think, again, I do agree with you, John. It definitely is about reconnection to land and our ancestors. But you got to remember, too, for some people, it isn't about ancestors. We have a lot of new hunters that come on board that have never hunted before and no one in their families hunted before. And, so that's where our role as other hunters is to come in and, help them learn and create their own history so that they can teach their kids. But it's not necessarily about that, too, as well. So everyone, thank you very much. We're at 38 minutes. I appreciate everyone being here. Again, if you missed this or you want to, share it out, I will by tomorrow have it up and posted on YouTube and Facebook so people can come back and listen to it. And keep an eye out early next week. I'll put out the next category for our next Hillbilly Harbinger. Anyways, everyone, have a great night, and I look forward to talking to you in the future.